Hi everyone, I'm Hugo. I'm an INSEAD MIM 26 student, and this is the first video on a long journey to this YouTube channel where I will be covering how I got into INSEAD MIM, how I am doing, how I am balancing my life, my relationships, my studies, all into one channel. So if you're interested, please feel free to stick around. Before I get started today, I just want to mention this will be a very general video where I'll be giving my personal experience of how I got in, how I tackled the different challenges to get in, such as the GMAT, the interviews, the CV, all of that. If there's any part here that you are especially interested in or anything you are not interested in, please feel free to skip ahead. It's there for that. Now, let's get into this. First of all, I will be talking about how I sold myself to INSEAD. So, first, it is important to know my background. My father is French and my mother is an Australian New Zealander. I, however, only have the passport of France and New Zealand. I was born in London, raised there for around 8 years, and spent a few brief years in Paris as a child, and then spent around 9 years in Zurich for my middle school and high school. I did internships in London for Rothschilds, as well as an internship in Luxembourg as a business developer for the IT consulting company Devoteam. I also, as I was applying, was working as a sales administrator in Valeo, Japan, in Tokyo, in the Shibuya office, where I would bounce between Shibuya and their factory next to Atsugi. Because of this, Japanese was a must, so I had to learn it in a limited time in order to not only communicate with the locals and make a few friends, for instance, at local sports clubs or the gym or even just in festivals, but even in the office, as people, especially more on the factory side, were not so competent in English. Therefore, speaking their language was a must. In addition to this, I also speak German, thanks to my 9 years living in Switzerland, as well as Spanish, thanks to my girlfriend. As for my personal passions, I am a fan of judo, weightlifting, snowboarding, running, and for my more relaxing hobbies, I'm a fan of philosophy, classical literature, gaming, and manga, and when I can, some outdoor activities, such as camping, fire making, and fishing. In my past student life at ESSEC, I was the head treasurer for the DJ club called RMX, where I both performed to ESSEC parties as well as other schools such as HEC and UM Lyon, whether for a party or their integration weekend. But I also handled the many finances and managed the other treasurers to make sure that we were always on time with all our payments and purchases. For a more real side of me, which I believe is the most important part of setting yourself, I repeated a year in high school. This was due to crippling video game addiction as well as a very poor mental health from the aforementioned addiction. Not only this, but I barely managed to get into l'ESSEC, where for the first 2 years I had the exact passing grade, which in France was 10 out of 20, so as to not be kicked out and yelled at by my parents, but still have ample amount of time to play my video games. It was only during COVID, where I spent a lot of time alone in the house as all my roommates moved out to go back home due to the pandemic, that I had time to think and realize, wow, my life is shit. So I decided to make it less shit. By doing so, I increased my average by over 60% and climbed over 200 spots in the ranking within the span of 1 year and a half. I explicitly told them being INSEAD, in both my application and my video essays, to not judge me on the person in the past, as they do ask for grade transcripts, but to judge me on the person I am now, which is the person who was passing the GMAT, trying to get a very good grades, and the person who was currently working in a demanding job in Tokyo. That sense of realness at the end is really what can make you stand out during the interview process. Anyone can boast and yap for an hour during an interview or write 3 pages about it in an essay, but showing some weakness, some default, and how you are overcoming it is, in my opinion, worth far more. Now I will go on to the first and, in my opinion, the most grueling part of the admission process, the GMAT. The GMAT, from my personal experience, is the hardest task for any MIM journey. You are dedicating yourself for months on end, or not if you're gifted, but normally you are dedicating yourself for months on end to a goal for an exam where you do not know how you will do, as it is completely randomized and there is an element of luck based on what questions you receive. And you have to keep going throughout the doubts when you tell yourself, either way I'm not going to get the school, either way I'm not going to do well, my percentile is going to be terrible, and you have to keep going. And this is a very good indicator for a business school, that you are able to take a heavy workload and silence many doubts over a long period of time to succeed for a goal that you're not even sure of succeeding. If you are, however, like I was, working a full-time job at the same time as studying the GMAT, please take some extra time. Don't rush it. Like, if you are unemployed, I know some people who have been able to do it in 1 month here. Personally, it took me around 5, and I got 660. So nothing crazy, but it was enough to get in. Now on to the do and don'ts. My first do is, if you can afford it, get a study guide. Don't try and solo it on your own. You have, albeit expensive, study helpers online, but they do make a world of difference. When I was trying to study on my own, my maximum score was around 550. I spent 1 month on target test prep, and I shot up to 660 on the real exam. So please go ahead. I know that Magouche, for instance, is a cheaper alternative, but I did not personally use it, so I cannot testify about it. Another do, keep track of your progress, both for the results and your own motivation, so you know where your weak points are, what you've mastered, and what is your percentage of mastery for the overall goal. This can help a lot when you have a very large goal and you have no way of quantifying, except for your score from the mock exams, quantifying your progress by knowing your percentage of mastery in the topic. Mock exam leads me to the third do. Take all the mock tests you can. They are so much cheaper than redoing the GMAT 3-4 times. I was lucky enough to pass it only once and get the score I wanted, but I know plenty of people who have wasted a lot of money because they tried skimping out on those mock exams. Lastly, keep track of the different topics you need to know for the GMAT. And for this do, I would say use an Excel. This goes back into tracking your progress. This is what I did. I would have a scale of 1 to 10 with a color grading system. And just when you're approaching the deadline and you see almost everything is this dark green, it triggers something in you, makes you feel prepared. Now for the don't. Honestly, don't be afraid, and I know it's counterintuitive to what I said before, don't be afraid to pass it multiple times. It's expensive. If you have to do it multiple times, please do it. But if you're only doing it multiple times because you tried cutting corners before, then don't do it. Finish all the resources you have before passing the GMAT. The second don't would be assuming that the GMAT is too hard and you rather just apply to schools that don't need it. Unfortunately, the great schools need to filter people out. And one of these great filters is the GMAT exam. The thing is, if you have a good background where you've worked hard in school and you at least have some interesting internships or anything, even if not, I know people here who have no work experience whatsoever, but they just have had consistently good grades and then did well in the GMAT. That was it. The rest was relatively easy. Lastly, don't spend hours on YouTube looking at how to get 700 plus on the GMAT. They don't work. Trust me, I tried. I tried the program of the 1 month, 700 plus on the GMAT. It's whether you're talking about exercise in the gym or the GMAT or studying in general, consistency will always beat outrageous effort in a short amount of time. Take your time, do the GMAT. You have 4 or 5 rounds to get into the MIM. I wanted round 1, so I had this deadline. I know so many people who got in the last round. Just relax, take your time, do it well. Now onto the CV and LinkedIn. The first do is to leverage any international experience you have. The school is literally the business school of the world. So it should come to no surprise that they like taking in international people. If you don't have any internationality, go on a trip, volunteer for a charity, do a sports tournament in another country. If you still have time, do an internship somewhere nice, do an exchange. Anything just to add that international edge is nice. For a quick story of how this impacted me, thanks to my, albeit lucky, thanks to my upbringing as well, international background, when talking to the counselor of INSEAD, seeing if it was a good fit for me, they told me I only really needed around 610 to get in. So if you don't have that international background, as I have some friends who don't have it, you might just need more on the GMAT, which you can do if you work hard at it. Second do, update your LinkedIn. They will most likely go on it. And if you have your LinkedIn not in English, you can set multiple languages on it. So I, for instance, have English and French, as I'm interested in applying in both of these languages. Please feel free to do the same, both in your native language and English. And if English is your native language, a second language for the country in which you plan on applying in. Third, either switch your social media to private or clean it. You want to do this to show a good side of you, because especially if you are going to do the interview, normally when preparing for an interview, you will go and stalk the interviewer. You can assume they will do the same for you. They will go on your LinkedIn if they find you a bit interesting, Facebook, Instagram. Just make sure you're showing off a good side and not one that could tarnish your brand. Next, we need to emphasize your personality through the CV. And you do this by having a section. Some people don't have it. The template here says you need it, literally. The INSEAD template. Have a hobby section. So this not only shows that you're an interesting person and that you actually like doing things outside of studying for school or the GMAT, but that you can actually bring something. An example is there's a friend of mine here who adores BJJ. So every Tuesday at 7, he gives BJJ classes to whoever wants to show up. There's another girl who does a bit of boxing, so every now and again she offers people to come hit the pads with her. There's someone who's a yoga teacher who is planning on doing a course. When you come here, you want to have something to bring, some kind of added value, and your hobbies can have it. Another tip, keep the CV one page. The INSEAD MIM CV template and the HEC MIM CV template are all one page. If you have to flip the page or scroll down, no one's going to anyway. They're only going to look at the first page. So might as well have everything on there. Lastly, have a good title. albeit mine was a bit bland. It was international graduate, currently working in Tokyo and looking to broaden his knowledge and skills with a master's degree. It's bland, but it says exactly who I am, what I'm applying for, and why. I think it's not bad. Now onto the don't. Please don't apply to this as you would for a job. Okay, this is a MIM. Your personality and your background are more valued than any hard skills you have or work experience and things like that. That for the MBA, maybe, because you really are expected to bring experience and knowledge from where you've worked. In the MIM, if you have some, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. But don't treat this like a job interview. Don't lie, obviously. They will know, they will stalk you, and in the interview, they will figure it out. Don't exaggerate. This is if you've done a sport and you've done some very amateur competition, and then you write, I am a competitive kickboxer. And when applying online in the admission process, you will be asked for certificates of your wins. So if you say you won any major competition, I hope you have the certificate on hand. Then lastly, don't place yourself in a single categories. These kinds of schools really want to see that you are open-minded and open to learn. If you come in and say, I'm doing this because I want to do IB in Saudi and nothing will change my mind, I just want to do finance. Yeah, but is that the only reason you're doing the MIM? It's just to learn about finance? Then just do a specialized master in finance. The MIM is more an experience than just gaining hard skills. It is a lot more than that, which we will cover later. Next, the essays. Do tell a story. So as I talked about in the my personal experience section, I really talked about how I overcame many things when I was a child. Another thing I included was bullying due to being overweight and how I even overcame being overweight. Do show weaknesses. Don't call yourself a perfectionist unless you actually are, of course. Do use AI as a tool, but don't use it as a source. And lastly, share a memorable event of your life that shaped you, be it good or bad. My example, COVID. It shaped me, of course, in the way that I talked about in the personal experience, but in many other ways as well. Don't try to condense the most achievements possible in the least amount of words. You will only have 500 words per essay. You cannot talk about how you won something nationally when you were 5 or 6. Keep it recent and short and sweet. Don't lie again. Okay. Copy paste the same essays between schools. This is an INSEAD video, but if you are applying, which I hope you are just in case, applying to other MIMs, if you copy, every school has their own values, which you will see in the marketing course here. And if you just expect to use the same essay for every school, showing off the same parts of yourself, it's never going to work, and it will work well for the first school for who you wrote the essays, and then every other school will not be the same. HEC does not value the same thing as INSEAD. That much I can tell you. I know people from HEC. They are different than people at INSEAD. Not in a bad way. They are just objectively different. Now onto the online interviews and video essays. First, for the video essays, quick rundown. 30-second videos that are taken without pause once started, and you cannot go back once they are recorded. And they will instantly be sent out. So don't swear or mess it up or freeze for too long. You have one shot. Well, 3, because you have 3 questions, and they can vary immensely. These questions can go from your biggest weakness and how you're getting better at it, what kind of person are you in your friend group, or the one I got, which was give an example of a conflict at work and how you handled it. Do dress appropriately. Wear a shirt or a polo shirt. Don't overdress. Honestly, you can wear a shirt, a little opened up, a tie if you really want to be serious. If you wear a suit and tie, I personally find it a bit excessive. I just wore a To the interview, I wore a polo shirt. To the video essay, I wore a shirt with like 2 buttons down or something because I got back from work. I think that's fine. Go online and look for examples of the video essay questions and practice. You will find them readily available online. I'll put a link here so you can see it. Do avoid long pauses, losing train of thought. You have 30 seconds. Don't waste it. And another thing, smile, have open body language, and don't rush thinking I have 30 seconds. I have to tell them how I was cum laude, how I won this casing competition as well as these sports competitions, and just cram it in. Don't relax, start with an open mindset. You will have the time to show your real self. And that's what matters because it's spontaneous. You don't have time. I think you have 1 minute to prepare. You don't have time to prepare a speech and perfect it and then lie. You have to be real. And if you lie, they can tell. Don't lie once more. I'll keep repeating it because the recruiters here have told me that literally every year they have liars that show up. Stop. Don't go off topic. Time is of the essence, as you know. And then, of course, don't speak as fast as humanly possible. The way you speak and the way you act in such a short and pressured amount of time will speak volumes about who you are as a person, both in stress and time management. And it will put you in such a better light than if you just yapped about how great you are. Now for the interview. It is done with an alumni of INSEAD. In my case, it was a MBA. It is literally a vibe check to see if the interviewer would have liked you as a classmate. The interview in of himself, is selected based on your own past. Since I was working in Japan, my interviewer was also a binational, French, and I forgot, who worked in China a lot. So we had things to talk about. This is a little pro tip. If you are especially nice with your interviewer, he will give you some personal tips, both on how to have fun, but also on some secrets that you normally discover on your own as you go along. Do create a genuine connection with the interviewer. You want this person to also be a contact for when you have questions about INSEAD, or even just having an extra person to network with. Do talk to him as you would a new classmate, with respects and honorifics, but don't treat him like he is the hiring manager. Do give him your plan, your goals, and your dreams. Do be prepared to go way off course of a normal interview. So I had prepped, I think, 3 pages of questions and answers, and in the end, I used them for 5 minutes, just on the give me a presentation of yourself, that pitch. And then the rest was like talking to a friend. He just asked me how was Japan, how I liked it, how the people are there, what sports I do, how come. It was genuinely like a conversation with a friend. It was very nice. Now for the don't. Don't, once again, act like it's a job interview. He's here to suss you out for your personality, not your skills. Show your EQ and your social skills. You are expected to be very good at socializing when you come here. You will meet 199-ish other people. You will know almost all of them by name. They will almost all be your friend. And socializing and the ability to socialize is a very useful skill, especially in a school that has such a high importance on alumni. Don't lose yourself in the talk. So yes, this is a conversation with a friend, but he's still here to interview you. So you can be relaxed, but don't take it too far. Don't give any crazy stories or swear or things like that, of course. And don't hoggle the speaking time for yourself. He went to the school you want to go to. Listen to him. He will give you valuable information. Okay, now final part in a long video. Tips and tricks. Do message alumni on LinkedIn. Surprisingly, you will know in at least MIM alumni I know. There's this motto called give, give, get. And we are almost instructed as a cohort to reply to anyone who reaches out to us, offer them help in any way we can within reason. So please don't hesitate to message me, either on my LinkedIn, if you want to be that professional, or even just in the comments, by email, whatever suits you best. I will really try my best to answer you. Do message admission officers. They respond quickly and will gladly answer all your questions. Following messaging them, do organize a meeting with the admissions officer. It will be a 45-minute interview with an officer who will see how well you match with INSEAD. They'll ask you questions, personality, job experience, life experience. They will give you, at least for me, they were very nice, an estimate of how much you would need at the GMAT based on your background and uniqueness and everything. If you match well with the interviewer and the values of INSEAD, it will be a big confidence booster. I know for me, the idea of just needing to have 610 really calmed me down, and I was able to do far better than that and get 660. Do message me once again. I will gladly answer all your questions directly or make a video about it. And this is a bit shameless, but do subscribe to this YouTube channel for more info so as to increase your odds of getting accepted. I'm sorry I had to do it. And even if you just want more information about life at INSEAD, if you are admitted, and congratulations, and you just want to see what life is like, I will be posting that. The only don't for my tips and tricks is rush the first round application, as I've said before. Apply when ready. This will not only save your own money, as you have a fee for applying and for passing the GMAT, but also INSEAD's time. If you are someone who applied in every single round, marginally changing their CV, same GMAT score, and just not putting in the attention that the school deserves, they're going to remember you, but not in a good way. I have a friend who attended almost every campus visit. He regularly talked with all the admissions team, and he created such a strong connection with them that they asked him to apply. They said, you match us so well, please apply. You are almost guaranteed to get in. You're the kind of person we want here. And now he's here, and he organizes the visit for other people to come. In conclusion, thank you very much for reaching this part of the video. I really hope it helped at least a bit. I'm sorry for the length. This is my first try doing something like this. If you are interested in this school, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting, as I'm just starting out. And it does help a lot. So I've heard. I don't actually know how the algorithm works. Don't be afraid to take the step to try. I would have never imagined joining this school due to my horrible grades in the past. Yet here I am, and I'm very grateful for it. And please have a fantastic week. I will see you next week for the deep dive on the GMAT and exactly what I did, where I went wrong, and how to make it just that much easier for you. Thank you so much.